Alrighty then. So the last video in the welcome to the video. Welcome to this video. This is Ryan Acid Heads Murphy here from AcidBathProductions.biz. If you want to check out my website. Okay, and this is the video series about how to apply all the things that I talked about in my Horror 101 series. So this one is about coming up with a framework for a horror game. You know, taking all those horror things, the concepts of horror, and applying it to a game concept. Coming up with a concept to a game and applying it, those elements to do that. Okay, so this one is about mysteries. Okay, what are we going to be finding out in this game? Because it's always good to have a mystery to uncover. The core concept, of course, is that they're there to investigate the hauntings. So that already gives you something to keep the attention of the player and, within the game itself, the characters. They're there to investigate a haunted mansion. So that's already one hook to keep you going. So the mysteries are there just to kind of supplement. And like with any good mystery, there's lots of what have I got written down here? Well, we'll get to some of that stuff later. Uh, yeah, why the mansion is haunted, of course, is going to be the core mystery that we can exploit. And since we've already been talking about doing a modular setting, a mansion with rooms that change depending every time you play the game, or possibly even during gameplay, not just when you make it or start a new game. I also like the idea of modular story elements. And what I mean by that is that you actually create elements to the story that work together regardless of how they're applied. Okay? You can put lots of hints, lots of innuendo and stuff in there that I'm going to talk about that more when I come to another video about the information control. But the overall idea behind modular storytelling in this context, of course, is that you don't have to have one story. You can have like 5 stories, which is what I've got here. 5 different stories that we can come up with, like the Winchester House, a bit of the Rose Red type of stuff. A family of cultists, strange murders, something Lovecraftian, and a portal to hell. Okay, again, these are just concepts. I haven't gone in and dug deep into coming up with all the story elements and stuff. That would come later if I got an actual backer to make the help, to allow me to make this game. Hi, potential backers. By the way, there's this thing called Kickstarter where you can raise money. So if you want to be a backer, let me know in the comments, and maybe we could make this happen without needing some Mr. Moneybags to back it up. You could be the backer for the game. You never know. It could happen. Just thought I'd throw that out there just because. But the basic idea behind this is that because you don't have to explain things necessarily, you don't have to resolve every pardon me, sorry. You don't have to resolve things in horror necessarily. The whole point of the mystery is to just add layers to what's already going on. The core concept of the game is that you're investigating a haunted mansion. The mystery aspect of why it's haunted and what went on there and who all the ghosts are. You can layer all that stuff in. And kind of like with the 13 Ghosts movies, each ghost will have its own backstory. Um, we can talk about that again more later, perhaps. But you give each ghost a backstory, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to tie in together. Like in 13 Ghosts, all these 13 ghosts, well, the 12 ghosts in the movie, have been brought to one location, and they're all in the movie, but they don't have anything to do with each other necessarily. So again, just because they're all haunting this mansion doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have, have anything to do with any single event. We could say that this mansion is a couple hundred years old. I mean, that would limit us to design choices, but if we say it's a really old mansion, that's 200 years worth of history. These ghosts could have accumulated over a long period of time. And if you kind of add in these hints that there could be a portal to hell or the underworld or whatever somewhere in this mansion, in the basement probably, or maybe there's a secret place, it doesn't even have to actually be there. Again, that's where you come back to the modular setting aspect. And that if you have a secret room that spawns for this particular playthrough, then you've added in elements of that portal to hell thing, and it in the game can automatically seed through the game stuff to lead to that room in the portal to hell or the underworld or whatever. Okay, or it doesn't have to be there at all, but it can still randomly spawn some of those things to hint that it's there. That's what I'm talking about with modular storytelling elements. And again, each ghost will have its own story, some of which might point to one thing, some of which might point to another thing. The idea is that you can have lots of different stories being told, lots of different mysteries going on modularly, because you take away that central focus. You don't have to have one story that's being told. It's the whole history of this mansion. So there's lots of different stories that have taken place through the history of this place. And you can just see things randomly through it. All you have to do is have, if you have 5 different stories you can work off of, plus all the different stories of the ghosts that you can come up with and work off of, and you just seed all this stuff randomly in the game, then again, it just adds to the modular component of the setting itself. No two gameplays will ever be identical. There would just be way too many random elements going on. Okay? And that makes for tons of replay value, because you never know what the hell is going to happen. Which adds to the elements of, goes to plays to some of those elements of horror. There's always all these different mysteries that are entangled up through this mansion, but again, it's layers of flavor. It's like the spices. It's if you're making a meal, let's say, what's something that has spaghetti? You're making spaghetti and meatballs. Okay, the investigators investigating the haunted mansion, that's our spaghetti and meatballs. You can't have spaghetti and meatballs without those 2 items. Okay, but all that is right there is just meat packed up into balls and fried or baked or whatever in spaghetti. It's not very appetizing. Okay, but what can we do to flavor it? Well, we have the setting. That's our sauce. But you just do one plain setting that's always the same. It's just tomato sauce out of a can, maybe. It's not very, again, it makes it taste better than making meatballs and spaghetti, but not all that appetizing necessarily. So what else can we do to it? We can spice it up. And that's where you start getting things like adding in all the random stuff. You've added spice to the sauce for the setting. And we add spices, additional spices, by making the story elements random as well. With that, we take away a core story and instead just have lots of different elements that work together individually. They don't have to all point to any single thing being the truth, because there is no one truth to point to. There's lots of different shit that's happened in this old mansion. It's an old mansion. Lots of things happen there. So we can have lots of different things that people can find. Every single game will be different. Okay. And then you have one hell of a tasty meal. So I hope that made sense. It's like, again, going back to the five I've got here, like the Winchester Mystery House. The whole backstory there is that the Winchester rifle family was it Sarah Winchester, I believe? Her son, I think, or daughter. One of her children, no, it was her husband. Actually, I think her whole family died except for her. I think her whole family died, and she had a seance, and the medium told her that it was the ghosts of all the people killed by Winchester weapons that were causing this to happen, and she had to keep building on this house to make them happy. So the Winchester Mystery House is just this bizarre building. Look it up if you've never seen anything about it before. It's pretty weird. So you could take elements of that. That could be one owner of the house. Okay? And then you have maybe one family that lived there for a while were cultists. Okay? Maybe. And then another time, you know, what else have I got here? You know, one family was strangely murdered. And then, of course, the a Lovecraftian story, and again, that portal to hell, or the underworld, or whatever idea. It's their dog, Max. Say hi, Max. Yeah. Silly old guy. So, you know, again, you don't have to have any central truth. You just take elements of whatever. You know, you can start with individual story and then build up the whole game around that one story. But you just break it down into individual elements, and then you can seed them all in randomly through when the game is building, when it first is being played for any particular gameplay or playthrough. And that way, you know, you get a completely new experience each time. You know, it's just an idea, but it's one that appeals to me personally because, again, I like that idea of being able to get difference, randomness, dynamics. It would make it more difficult, especially on me since I would be the one creating most of the story elements and stuff, but it would make it a lot more fun to play. And that's really the point of making a game, is to make it a fun game to play with lots of replay value. So I think that covers that topic pretty well. Give me that upvote. Leave your questions and comments. Any other ideas for videos you'd like me to do. And share the video with anybody you think would be interested in watching it. Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, all that good junk. I think that covers all the YouTube stuff. No, subscribe. You won't know if when I upload new videos if you don't subscribe to my channel, so I've been forgetting to say that, so subscribe. That wraps it up. Thanks you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.